Hello, everyone. This is Scott, host of Ruminate This with Agrarian Solutions. We truly believe that any organization is only as great as the people within that organization. In this special Meet the Team series, I will sit down one-on-one with every team member and learn more about their passions, interests, and what drives them to strive for excellence every day. We hope you enjoy getting to know us. All right. Hey, welcome back to Ruminate This with Agrarian Solutions, everybody. I'm your host, Scott Zehr. Today, we continue our bonus series, Meet the Team at Agrarian. And I'm excited to have my colleague, Chad Christensen, join us today. Chad, welcome to Ruminate This, man.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah. So Chad is one of the regional business development managers at Agrarian Solutions. I would happen to be the other one over here on the East Coast. Chad, Minnesota boy, right? Born and raised, right?
Born and raised, yes.
Born and raised. I never hear the Minnesota come out of Chad at all. I got to throw a little poke there at the up north boys. It's still north of me. Not by much, though. Probably not by much at all. But Chad, tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been with Agrarian, kind of what you do as the regional business development manager. And I guess first and foremost, who the heck is Chad Christensen?
Yeah, Chad Christensen. I live in southeast Minnesota. You're familiar with Minnesota. I'm probably about an hour southeast of Minneapolis, right along the Mississippi River. If you know Minnesota, between Rochester and Red Wing, Minnesota, a small town called Goodhue, Minnesota. I'm kind of in the country. Yeah, so I'm 5 minutes from jumping the bridge and into Wisconsin whenever I need to head that direction. So it's pretty centrally located for where I spend the majority of my time.
Mm-hmm.
Been married for 20, going to be 6 years.
Careful, Chad. This is a public platform.
3 great kids, 2 boys and a girl. Oldest one will be 24 here in a couple of weeks. My middle son will be 21 in December, and my daughter is going to be 18 in a couple of weeks. So we're kind of rounding that corner in our life of all of a sudden life is slowing down, a little more time on our hands, it seems like, instead of the running constantly when the kids were younger. So little change for my wife and I. So my wife works full time for the state of Minnesota. So yeah, life is good.
Yeah. It's crazy too. So everybody tells me, Chad, with Brooke and Cooper being Brooke's 5, Cooper's 2, and I take people very seriously when they say this, right? Don't blink, right? Because they grow up fast.
It goes fast.
Yeah. So what's it like seeing the last one rounding the corner?
I have been gray and bald for a lot of years, so I can't really blame it on that, but it's going fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. How long have you been with Agrarian now?
Full time with Agrarian, it's been right about 10 years.
Okay.
Prior to that, I had a role with Minnesota Select Sires as a direct sales rep. But within that role, I was also a part-time Agrarian person as well, supporting that co-op, helping the team within that co-op grow the business. Primarily, we took off and grew this concentrated business, the DGX concentrate we all talk so much about. So working with feed mills, trying to gain relationships with nutritionists has kind of always been my passion on this side of the business. So, and that's still the role now I'm in even more. So,
yeah. Chad, you've had, 20 plus year career so far in agriculture.
30 plus, actually.
Oh, yes, 30 plus. I was thinking 10 and 10, but yeah.
Yeah. I had a stint there for about 13 years where I was a AI specialist for Gen X.
Oh, right. Yeah, I forget about your old Gen X days sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 30 plus years, I mean, what do you attribute as some of the keys to being in agriculture for 30 plus years, in particular the dairy industry? And I ask that question because it's a really small industry.
It is.
It's like you go to a conference anymore and it's everybody knows just about everybody, or at least you start talking to somebody and they know everybody you know.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that for 30 years?
Well, I think that's probably the reason I enjoy it for as long as I have is the people. And maybe some of these people have changed roles, including myself, but we're all in the industry and you get to know these people, and it's the people that make it enjoyable, whether it's the dairies and the dairymen or the other industry people that you get to know.
It's so true, and I didn't mention it at the beginning of the episode, but, this Meet the Team and Agrarian series, it's predicated based on our core values: relational integrity, strategic and excellence, the acronym of RISE. So the reason I wanted to do this series is, Chad, exactly what you just said. I mentioned it in another episode, the first ever episode we did here at Ruminate This. I was talking with Mark Carpenter, our general manager. I said, "You show me a successful business, and I will show you the amazing men and women behind the scenes that actually make it happen." This term, Chad, this term B2B sales, I freaking hate it. It comes down to the people, and I appreciate you. Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up because it's so true. So, one of the questions I wanted to ask you too is, what do you think is special about the livestock industry in general? Why is it such a great place to be?
You wake up 7 days a week, it seems like, thinking about something work related, whether it's a challenge, it's a problem you're trying to solve, maybe something great is going on. Maybe you're just constantly running into people in the industry, weekdays, weekends, nights, wherever you're at. But the flexibility is there in the world where there's so much flexibility getting to know all these people in what you do every day that you probably are putting in a longer day mentally for sure than somebody who goes and punches a clock 40 hours a week. But the flexibility is there and you enjoy what you do. So you're never working.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. That's funny you mention it that way because you and I didn't have to send emails to each other yesterday, but it
Did.
can. You could, right? I think some people that are outside the egg industry, they look at, I'm going to use somebody I know for an example. A friend of mine, he's like, man, it's like you never have any days where you can just like, I was like, well, but we do. But I guess my perspective on that is, look at the men and women across the country working in the industry that we choose to be professionals in. They're farmers.
Yeah.
They work 7 days a week. My dad works 7 days a week.
Oh,
What people have a hard time understanding, Chad, is that just because you may do some sort of work related activity 7 days a week means for some reason you can't like be a good family guy.
right.
And, I think you're living proof for that being different. I mean, I hear a lot of the stuff you guys do as a family, the vacations, that kind of stuff. And, within our company, that's encouraged.
It is. But we're never 100% tuned out of work either, which is
Right.
great.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we take it pretty seriously that we know who we're working for, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
We work for a pretty great company. So I think we work harder for them because of that.
I would agree. I would agree. Kind of shifting gears a little bit. I'm a big believer that, hey, what happened yesterday kind of helps shape you into who you are today, that kind of thing. But along my journey through the last, I'm gonna say since I entered the workforce 21 years ago, there's been a couple of individuals that have, I'm gonna go ahead and say, have made a significant impact on the course of my career. And so I'm always curious when I talk to other folks, like, do you have some people that you felt were mentors, if you would, throughout your career the last 30 plus years? And feel free to mention who they are if you want, or maybe just even talk a little bit about what they meant to you.
I probably go all the way back to the start of my career. I got into AI. I was young and it was over 30 years ago. I started out in a relief role and one of the guys I was doing relief work for, he's been a leader in that industry for forever and ever for Gen X. And I would say he was probably a mentor. If I look back at what a lot of the things in my values, I mean, this guy worked hard. He worked for his customers. He put them first. He always had his mind on work every day of the week, kind of what we just talked about previously. I mean,
Hmm.
you never really punched out, right? Even on his days off, he had a clue what was going on all the time. But I would say he helped teach me a lot of the values about how to service customers, how to build relationships, that kind of thing. I'd go back to that one first.
That's interesting because my first supervisor when I entered AI, and for those of you that are a couple generations shy of me, that's artificial insemination, not artificial intelligence. But yeah, my first supervisor, Pete Perrin, I frame it up to people like he taught me how to be a professional.
Yeah.
Like that's where I learned it from. So it's kind of funny that was my first foray into that as well as yours. So how do you think that shaped you? I mean, you mentioned the values, the principles, but how did you learn to apply them over the last 30 years?
I would say just waking up, doing what you're supposed to do every day. Don't take shortcuts. Just get the job done. At the end of the day, it's not a lot of work if you're enjoying it and you're not cutting shortcuts anyway. So just be a good service guy. Just help your customers, whatever your role is, just do it.
It's so interesting. I remember having a conversation with Mark Carpenter. I think it was actually part of episode 1 as well. And he was saying like, well, my daughter was like, "Hey dad, well, like, what's the secret here?" And he's like, "There isn't one. Just be a good freaking person."
Oh,
Like it really is that simple. And I think Chad, that's what on some level disappoints me with some of the companies within agriculture, because not every company out there pushes that kind of value system. They might say they do, but actions always speak louder than words, right?
yeah.
When I see what we're building here, it gives me a lot of hope for the future because, man, the cream always rises. It might take a few minutes, but I think with having integrity as that second letter of the acronym, right? Integrity. What do you do when nobody's looking? Which is what basically what you're saying. Like, don't take shortcuts.
Oh,
Let's go make it happen and do it right.
not need to be that difficult.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. I guess that kind of leads into kind of the next question I would have for you is we have the opportunity, you and I especially being out in the field, to where, we get called on to dairy farms, maybe sometimes a beef cattle ranch, what have you. But I'll use dairy specifically since that's where you and I spend the majority of our time. And I call dairy farmers the ultimate entrepreneurs, right? They get to be the business owner. Like any business owner, they get to wear a lot of hats. Those hats range from, construction worker to veterinary every day of the week and
Oh,
everything in between, right? And some of these dairies, I think they really struggle sometimes with teamwork and culture and that kind of thing. And you having been now with Agrarian for 10 years, you've had to have seen some sort of evolution within the organization. I would assume so in the last 10 years. What were some keys behind how things have progressed at Agrarian culture wise? And what are some things that we can pass along to some of the dairymen, or, maybe it's a nutrition professional or veterinary running their own business, or, working within a team environment. How can they be successful team building and it kind of from what you've seen, how it's happened at Agrarian?
I would say just be open on which direction we're going. The whole team needs to be going the same direction, right? And if we're all open about where we're going and everybody understands why and what we're going to do to get there, it's going to happen a lot faster. Look where we went just in the last couple of years with DTX concentrate sales, Scott. I mean, that thing is exploding. We've just decided we're gonna take that to the next level, and we've surpassed that already, and it's not slowing down.
I would agree, Chad, that the transparency is phenomenal. I'm kind of glad you picked that. There's so many farms that I've had the chance to be on in the last 6 years of my career, 4 with Agrarian, 2 when I was with Premier. And unfortunately, there's a lot of mushroom farmer management practices on a lot of these dairies. And when I look at, of course, mushroom farm management, right? It's keep everybody in the dark and feed them shit, you
Right.
know? And I think hearing you say that, the openness, the transparency, I think for me, a light bulb just kind of went off. Like that's that really is a huge part of what I think has happened with this company in the last 10 years.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great insight, man. So Chad, on this teamwork conversation, what does a successful team look like to you?
Just the right people in the right seats, all going in the same direction. It's kind of the yeah.
That's the boys in the boat, right?
It's exactly that. Yeah. I guess I was thinking that after I said it, I'm like, that is
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Did you know they brought that out on movie finally?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't gotten all the way through the movie. I've read the whole book, but yeah. Oh man, what a great metaphor
Yeah. Yeah.
for building a team. If you guys, men, women, haven't listened to this book, I listened to it on Audible. And I think now the movie's out probably on Netflix or Amazon, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Boys in the Boat. Check that out. It's 1936 US Olympic rowing team. Yeah, pretty good stuff.
Analogy is perfect. It's just the team has to be going all the same direction. So
Yeah. So Chad, we talk about the dedication within agriculture, right? This mentality that, hey, I would say on call is a fair way to put it. We're on call 7 days a week, if you would. We're not afraid to, have to pick up the phone if that's what needs to happen or so on. But I have things that I do outside of agriculture, even because sometimes I just need to decompress. So, what does it look like for you? Like, what are your hobbies? What kind of things do you like to do for fun or maybe like family activity, that kind of stuff?
do a lot of things for fun. I like to see, living in Minnesota, I don't like to think of it as the four seasons. Fall isn't fall for me. Fall is harvest season. It's bow hunting season, uh, deer shotgun season. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, you're into the holidays and it's snowmobiling season and ice fishing season. Maybe even a vacation somewhere warm because you want to get the heck out of here by February. So
Go somewhere to get some vitamin D, right?
yeah, my seasons are different than a lot of people's seasons because it goes by that. You got spring turns into fishing and turkey season and that kind of thing. I like to hunt. I like to fish. Spend a lot of time with family, just doing stuff like that. Summertime is boating.
You guys had already been up like on the lakes where Larry just went camping and stuff. You guys have done that before, but him and his family just did that, right?
Him and his family just went up to northern Minnesota to what we call the Boundary Waters. Yeah, we actually went to northern Wisconsin on a family vacation over the 4th of July. Well, we try and do that every year. We've just chosen the 4th of July. As our kids get older, hey, the 4th of July is locked down. This is where we're going to be. You guys are welcome to come. And of course, they always come. So it's great. We're just trying to make a tradition.
Yeah, hopefully it stays that way for a lot of years.
Yep, that's the goal.
My wife and I, we kind of did something like that this year where my in-laws have a cottage on Lake Ontario, and it's situated right on kind of a little bay. It's protected by the prevailing wind, so it's usually pretty calm. So we spent the first week of July down there. It's only 18 minutes from our house.
Oh, wow.
So it's like you can still, we shut it down probably about 40 to 50% for a couple days and maybe 60-70% for a couple more days while we were down there. Yeah. Like that's kind of one of my goals is to do what you and Brandy did. Like we're going to be here this week. Obviously right now the kids don't have a choice but to come with us, but hopefully we can continue to make, some memories like that with the kids.
Yep. So
Uh,
they enjoy it. I think my middle son, he showed up unannounced on a Friday night with 6 of his buddies. So I guess they must enjoy it if they come. So but
oh, awesome, man. Well, Chad, I really appreciate you taking some time today to visit with us. And number one, I do mean that genuinely because I know how much you absolutely love this kind of thing and being on the microphone and zooming and that kind of stuff. I definitely appreciate it. Would there be any final words you might have for our audience? So some take homes, anything we want to talk about today or did talk about?
30 years in the industry. Most people that are in the industry already know this, but accept change because change is always happening. Ride the waves.
Yeah, that's really good advice. All right, man. Well, hey, I guess with that, we'll wrap it up. And everybody, we will be talking with you again on another episode of Ruminate This with Agrarian Solutions coming your way very soon. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. If you found value in today's podcast, please hit subscribe and share. And we look forward to talking to you again next week.